What's up, friends? Welcome to Office Dr. Awesome. I am Dr. Awesome, and having done a whole video on the basic camera functions you need to understand to record quality video in manual control, seems like a good idea to actually show you how to do that on a given camera. And since the camera we have the most of here at East Central University is going to be the Canon Rebel T8i, this is where I'm starting. So I've already got a battery and an SD card in this camera. The next thing I need to do is turn the camera on. So to do that, you take this switch right here, you flip it all the way to the video camera because we are working for video here. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit our menu button up here in the top left of the camera body, and we are going to come over here to these function settings in that menu. I'm going to hit set. Now there's a couple of things we want to check here. First of all, in our first page of this menu, we want to come down here to where it says format card. We are going to format our card. I always recommend formatting your card when you're starting a new project. It clears up space on the card, it prevents data fragmentation. Just be aware that when you format it, everything that's on there is gone forever, so make sure you got it backed up first. Once you've formatted your card, I'm going to come over here in this same function settings to the third page of this menu, and what we're looking for here is video system. Now, we have probably half and half T8i's and 850Ds, which are functionally the exact same camera, except for they are manufactured and marketed to different markets. So the T8i is going to default to NTSC as far as your video system. The 850D is going to default to PAL. For anything we're recording here at ECU, you want to make sure, or anything in America for that matter, you want to make sure that you're setting your video system to NTSC. That will give you the standard sort of Western frame rates that we're thinking about. So this is already set, that's good. I'm going to go ahead and hit my menu button and close out of this. Next thing we want to check here is going to be our frame rate and resolution. So if you're looking at the back of your viewfinder here, the fourth icon down is going to be your resolution and your frame rate. You can see right now this camera is set to FHD, which is full HD, 1920 by 1080, and my frame rate is 29.97 FPS. That is 30 frames per second. If you want to change that to, say, 24 or 60, what you would do is hit this Q button here on the right side of the camera, and you can use the select button on the back of the camera and you can go up or down. Make sure you're on your resolution. We're gonna hit set, and then you can see the options you have here. We have 4K at 24 frames a second, we have full HD at 60, we have full HD at 30, we have full HD, a compressed version at 30, and we have full HD at 24. I'm going to go ahead and leave mine set to 30 for right now, but this is how you come in here and address those things. This icon right here, this HD 60 frames a second, that is going to be 720, so it's still HD, but it's not full HD, but it would give you that 60 frames a second. I'm going to go ahead and leave mine set to full HD at 30. Before we do anything else, the next thing we want to check on our camera is going to be our white balance. Now I know in my other video I saved white balance at the end, but we're going to want to set that now. So to set your white balance, what you'll do is you go ahead and hit the Q button here, and rather than go across, because you can't do that, we'll hit down until we wind up right here, the first icon on the right-hand side of the screen. That is your white balance. That's your preset for your white balance. And if I scroll through this, you can see there are different options here. There's a Kelvin where you can set it by temperature. There's an auto white balance. I don't recommend ever using auto white balance because your colors will get all funky. You have daylight, you have shade, you have cloudy, you have tungsten, you have fluorescent. Our studio is lit by fluorescent light, so that's where I'm going to leave it. Right below that, you have your picture profile. This is going to be how your camera, how much saturation and contrast your camera has. You can see right now I've got mine set to neutral. If I wanted to change that to faithful or fine detail, that's going to be very high contrast. Landscape, again, high contrast. Portrait, little higher contrast. You could do that just by scrolling through with that menu wheel on the back of the camera, but I'm going to leave mine set to neutral. And for right now, that's all we really need to look at in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my Q button, let that go away. Now it's time to talk about exposure. And so how you address your exposure on this camera, remember we have f-stop or aperture and we have shutter speed. And so to control your f-stop, now this is a touchscreen camera, so you could touch the back of the screen here on your F icon and change it, but what I'm going to show you how to do is a little different. You have this little button here on the right hand side of the screen, it's like an asterisk or a star. If I touch that and then I use this wheel here, you can see that I can make the image darker or brighter using my f-stop. So this is sort of the first way you control light coming into your camera. Just remember that f-stop doesn't just control light, it also controls your depth of field. The lower that number, the more light's coming in, the shallower that depth of field becomes. Along with your f-stop, you also have your shutter speed. Now, your shutter speed on this camera, if you look at the bottom over on the left, you can see that 1/60. That is indicating that our shutter is open for 1/60th of a second right now. Now, I could take this wheel here, it's the same wheel we use for f-stop, but instead of pressing the star button, I'm just gonna use the wheel, and I can turn that down, or I can turn it up, letting more or less light into the camera. Now, remember, your shutter speed doesn't just control light, it also controls motion blur. The slower your shutter speed, the more motion blur. The faster your shutter speed, the less motion blur. So just bear that in mind. As a general reminder, the sort of rule of thumb for shutter speed is you want to follow what's called the double shutter rule, which in this case, we are shooting at 30 frames a second, so we want our shutter speed to be 1/60th of a second, which it currently is. Once you've got your f-stop and shutter speed sort of figured out and dialed in a little bit, we can talk about your ISO. Now, if you look again at the back of your viewfinder on the right, you'll see where it says ISO 1250 right now on this camera. My ISO is set at 1250. On the front of the camera here, right behind that wheel, there's an ISO button. And if I touch that, you will see this menu icon appear here, and you can use that same wheel to turn your ISO down or up. Now, with this camera, shooting indoors, shooting below 800 is going to be very difficult unless you've got a lot of light. I tend to recommend living around this 1250 range. You can pump it up to 1600, but I wouldn't recommend going into the 2000 or 2500 range for video because you will wind up getting very grainy content that you don't necessarily want. So now what we're going to do is talk about how to focus the camera. So on your lens, you have this little switch right here. Now, you'll notice that it says AF and MF. Autofocus means that it will be sort of a tracking autofocus. The T8i 850D has a pretty reliable autofocus, but for a lot of things, I don't recommend using it. I always recommend using your manual focus. So to manually focus the camera, make sure this is set to MF. And then this ring on the front of the lens here, you can see in my recording here that my camera is out of focus, and so all you have to do is adjust that until your image becomes nice and crisp. Now, with fixed f-stop cameras, something you can do is you can zoom all the way in and then focus and then zoom back out. But with variable f-stop cameras, you don't want to do that. And so what you want to do instead of zooming in and zooming out is you want to use this button right here. This is your magnifying glass. This will punch in on wherever it is told to punch in. So if I hit that, you'll see now in the bottom right of our screen, you can see a little white square there. That's telling you what it's zooming in on. And you can move it with this select wheel by pushing the buttons, and you can sort of select wherever you want it to go. And so if I want it to be right there, all I have to do is adjust my focus until it's nice and crisp, and then go ahead and hit that button a couple more times, and it will zoom all the way out. It's important to remember that this is a focus check only. It will not record at that zoom level. It will only record at whatever the lens is set to. So once you've got your aspect set, you've got your frame rate set, you've got your f-stop, your shutter speed, your ISO, you've checked your focus. Once you've got all of that, the last thing you have to do is record. And to do that, you hit this button right here on the back of the camera. It has a little red dot above it, and you hit record, and you'll notice your viewfinder switches to saying record, and that's how you control all of your manual functions on the Canon Rebel T8i or the 850D, depending on which one you've got your hands on. Yeah, so that's it. That's how you control your manual settings on the T8i. Get a camera out there, start practicing, and keep shooting.